I spent 2 years thinking my mother-in-law hated me. She was the only one who loved me enough to tell the truth. Posted to r/true off my chest. I, 26F, need to write this down because it's been 3 weeks and I still can't fully process what happened. My therapist suggested journaling, but honestly, I think I need the anonymous void of the internet to scream into. So here goes. 3 weeks ago, I was standing at the altar in a beautiful garden venue overlooking the coast. I was wearing my grandmother's veil, a dress I'd saved for 2 years to afford, and I was about to marry the man I thought was the love of my life. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for 18 months, and I had planned every single detail of this wedding down to the specific shade of blush pink for the napkins. 180 guests sat in white chairs behind us. My bridesmaids were crying happy tears. My father had just walked me down the aisle and kissed my cheek before taking his seat next to my mother, who was already dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. The officiant began the ceremony. We exchanged our personalized vows. I'd spent weeks writing mine, pouring every ounce of love I had into those words. My fiancé's vows were shorter, but I didn't mind. He'd never been great with words. That's what I told myself, anyway. Then came the moment. The officiant smiled and said the words I'd heard in 100 movies. If anyone here has any reason why these two should not be wed, speak now or forever hold your peace. It's supposed to be a formality, a relic from another time. Nobody actually objects at weddings. It's just tradition. I was already smiling at my fiancé, ready for the next part, ready for the rings, ready for the kiss, ready for the rest of my life. Then I heard a chair scrape against the flagstone. I object. The voice was calm, measured, cold. I knew that voice. I turned, and there she was. His mother. Standing in the third row, wearing the navy blue dress she'd specifically chosen because she said it wouldn't draw attention. Her face was expressionless, the same face she'd worn for 2 years whenever she looked at me. For a moment, I thought it was a joke. Some kind of bizarre, tone-deaf attempt at humor. His mother had never been warm to me. I'd spent 2 years trying to win her over and failing, but she'd never been outright cruel. Distant, yes. Disapproving, absolutely. But this. Mom, what are you doing? My fiancé's voice cracked. I'd never heard him sound like that before. Panicked. Actually panicked. Sit down, he hissed. Sit down right now. But she didn't sit down. She stepped into the aisle and began walking toward us. In her hand, she held her phone. The silence in that garden was absolute. 180 people holding their breath. I could hear the ocean in the distance, the waves crashing against the cliffs below us. Such a beautiful sound for such an ugly moment. I'm sorry to do this here, his mother said, and her voice carried across the venue without her even raising it. I gave my son every opportunity to tell you himself. He refused. So I'm telling you. She reached the altar and stood beside me. Not beside her son. Beside me. My son was not at his bachelor party yesterday, she said. He was at the Grand Harbor Hotel. Room 412. With another woman. She turned her phone toward me. The photo was clear. Unmistakable. My fiancé, the man standing 3 feet away from me in his perfectly tailored suit, kissing a woman I'd never seen before. They were standing outside a hotel room door, her arms around his neck, his hands on her waist. The timestamp in the corner read yesterday's date. 4:47 p.m. While I was at my final dress fitting with my bridesmaids, laughing about how nervous I was, he was kissing someone else. I stared at the photo. Then I looked at him. He was white as paper. His mouth was opening and closing like he couldn't find words. Behind him, his groomsmen were frozen, their faces a mixture of shock and, I realized with a sick feeling, recognition. They knew. Some of them knew. That's not. He finally found his voice. Mom, what the hell are you doing? I'm telling your fiancé the truth. Something you were too cowardly to do yourself. It was nothing. He turned to me, reaching for my hands, but I stepped back. Baby, listen to me. It was one time. One stupid mistake. It meant nothing. I was drunk. I was nervous about the wedding. You were at that hotel for 3 hours, his mother interrupted. You arrived at 2 p.m. You left at 5. You weren't drunk. You were deliberate. The murmuring started then. 180 people whispering, gasping, some of them already pulling out their phones. I could feel the weight of all those eyes on me, waiting to see what I would do. My fiancé spun toward his mother. You followed me. You hired someone to follow me. I discovered the affair last week, she said, still in that terrifyingly calm voice. "I found messages on your phone when you left it at my house. I confronted you. I gave you the chance to tell her yourself, to call off the wedding with some dignity. You promised me it was over. You promised me you would tell her. You lied. So you decided to humiliate me in front of everyone I know?" His voice was rising now, desperation turning to anger. "You decided to destroy my wedding, my marriage, my life?" She looked at him with an expression I'll never forget. Not anger. Not disgust. Disappointment. Pure, bottomless disappointment. "No, son. You destroyed your wedding. You destroyed your marriage. I'm just making sure she knows before it's too late." Update 1. The aftermath at the altar. I should probably explain something about his mother before I continue. For 2 years, I genuinely believed this woman hated me. From the moment my fiancé introduced us, she was cold. Not rude, exactly, she was too proper for rudeness, but distant. Disapproving. She rarely smiled at me, never initiated conversation, and had a way of looking at me like she was evaluating me and finding me wanting. I tried everything. I remembered her birthday, her favorite flowers, her preference for Earl Grey over English breakfast. I asked about her charity work, her garden, her late husband. I spent 2 years performing, trying to prove I was good enough for her golden boy. Nothing worked. She remained ice. I assumed it was classism. My family is working class. My father is an electrician, my mother works at a bakery. His family has money. Old money. The kind of money that comes with expectations and country club memberships and subtle sneering at people who didn't summer in the right places. I assumed his mother looked at me and saw someone beneath her son. Someone who would never fit into their world. Someone who wasn't good enough. I was wrong. Standing at that altar, staring at the photo of my fiancée kissing another woman, I finally understood. I spent 2 years thinking my mother-in-law hated me. Turns out she was the only one who loved me enough to tell the truth. She wasn't cold because she thought I wasn't good enough. She was cold because she knew her son wasn't good enough for me, and she couldn't figure out how to say it. "Baby, please." My fiancé grabbed my arm. "Let's go somewhere private. Let's talk about this. We can work through this. People make mistakes. It doesn't have to end everything." Behind me, I heard my mother crying. "Sweetheart, maybe you should listen to him. Maybe you should try to work it out. Marriages take effort, they take forgiveness." My own mother. Begging me to marry a man who had cheated on me less than 24 hours before our wedding. Then his mother spoke again. "You deserve better," she said. Not to her son. To me. "Walk away. You deserve better than this." I looked at her. This cold, distant woman who I'd spent 2 years trying to impress. She was holding out a folder now. I hadn't even noticed she was carrying one. "What is that?" "Everything I found," she said. "I'm sorry this is how you found out. But I couldn't let you marry a liar. Not even my own son." I took the folder. Inside were printed screenshots of text messages. Dates going back months. Not just one affair. Affairs. Plural. Different women. Some of them recent, some of them from over a year ago. He'd been cheating on me for our entire engagement. "How could you?" I whispered. I wasn't even sure who I was asking anymore. Him, for betraying me? Myself, for not seeing it? "Mom." My fiancé's voice was shaking now. "Mom, you've ruined everything. You've absolutely destroyed everything." His mother didn't flinch. "No. You did. You ruined everything the first time you broke your vows before you even made them. I'm just making sure the woman you tried to trap knows the truth." Update 2. The church empties. The next 10 minutes were chaos. My fiancé was screaming at his mother, his face red, veins standing out in his neck. I'd never seen him like that before. Actually, that's not true. I'd seen glimpses. Moments when his charm would slip and something uglier would show through. I'd always made excuses for it. Stress. Pressure. A bad day. His groomsmen were trying to calm him down, but 2 of them had already stepped away, unable to meet my eyes. They knew. I could see it in their faces. They knew about the affairs, and they said nothing. My bridesmaids surrounded me, a protective circle of pink dresses and shell-shocked faces. My maid of honor, my best friend since college, had her arm around me, asking me over and over if I was okay. What could she do? What did I need? I needed to leave. That was the only thought I could form clearly. I needed to get out of there. But first, there was something I had to do. I handed the bouquet to my maid of honor. I pulled off my engagement ring, a diamond that had cost 3 months of his salary, that I'd shown off proudly to everyone I knew, that I'd stared at 1,000 times imagining our future together. I walked to where he was standing and held it out. "Take it back. Baby, don't do this." His voice broke. For a moment, he almost sounded sincere. "I love you. I've always loved you. This doesn't have to be the end. People make mistakes. People forgive each other. That's what marriage is. Please, please don't throw away 4 years because of one stupid mistake." "It wasn't one mistake," I said. "It was dozens. Maybe hundreds. How many times? How many women?" He didn't answer. He couldn't even look at me. That's what I thought. I pressed the ring into his hand and stepped back. Then I turned to face the guests. 180 people who had come to celebrate our love, our union, our future. Some of them were family, some were friends, some were colleagues and acquaintances. All of them were staring at me. "I'm sorry," I said, and my voice was steadier than I expected. "I'm sorry you all came here today expecting a wedding. But I won't be marrying this man. Not today. Not ever." I lifted the folder his mother had given me. "I have evidence here of multiple affairs spanning over a year. I was going to marry someone who was sleeping with other women the entire time we were engaged. I was going to promise my life to someone who couldn't even stay faithful for 1 day before our wedding." I looked at my fiancée. Former fiancée. I hope she was worth it. Then I walked down the aisle, past the rows of shocked faces, past my crying mother, past his shell-shocked father, past all of it. I heard footsteps behind me. I thought it might be one of my bridesmaids, but when I reached the parking lot and turned around, it was his mother. She was still composed, still controlled, but there was something in her eyes now that I'd never seen before. Something that looked almost like grief. "I know you probably hate me," she said. "I destroyed your wedding day. The day you'd been planning for over a year. I humiliated you in front of everyone you know." I stared at her. This woman who I'd resented for so long. This woman who I'd complained about to my friends, who I dreaded seeing at holidays, who I'd assumed would be the difficult mother-in-law I'd have to manage for the rest of my marriage. I stepped forward and hugged her. She went rigid for a moment. Physical affection was clearly not her forte, but then her arms came up and wrapped around me, and I felt her exhale like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. "You saved my life," I said. She pulled back and looked at me. Her eyes were wet. "I saw the signs," she said quietly. "For months. Little things that didn't add up. His late nights. His phone always face down. The way he talked about you sometimes, like you were a possession, not a partner. I tried to tell myself I was imagining things. A mother doesn't want to believe her son is capable of something like this." She paused, composing herself. "When I found those messages, I wanted to throw up. This was the boy I raised. The boy I taught to be honest, to be honorable, to treat people with respect. And he was lying to you every single day, and he was going to keep lying to you for the rest of your marriage. Why didn't you warn me sooner? Why wait until the wedding?" "Because I gave him a chance." Her voice hardened. "1 week ago, I told him what I knew. I told him to call off the wedding or tell you the truth. I told him that if he didn't, I would. He swore to me he would handle it. He swore it was over with all of them. He begged me not to say anything, said it would destroy you to find out, said he could be the husband you deserved if I just gave him the chance." She shook her head. "Then yesterday, I got a call from the investigator I'd hired. My son wasn't at his bachelor party. He was at a hotel with the same woman from the messages. Less than 24 hours before his wedding. He couldn't even stay faithful for 1 more day." Update 3, the fallout, 1 week later. It's been a week since the non-wedding. I want to update everyone because the aftermath has been a lot. First, I've been staying at his mother's house. I know how insane that sounds. The woman who blew up my wedding, and I'm sleeping in her guest room. But here's the thing. My apartment was the apartment I shared with my fiancée. I couldn't go back there. Every inch of that space was contaminated with memories I now knew were lies. My parents wanted me to come home, but my mother was still making noises about giving him another chance, and thinking about the future, and I couldn't handle it. I couldn't sit in my childhood bedroom listening to my mother explain why I should forgive a serial cheater because men are men, and at least he wanted to marry you. His mother offered her guest room. No pressure, no expectations. Just a clean, quiet space where I could fall apart in peace. She was practical about it, the way she's practical about everything. She left meals outside my door when I couldn't face coming downstairs. She answered my questions when I had them and left me alone when I needed silence. She didn't try to make excuses for her son or explain his behavior. She just let me grieve. On the third day, she knocked on my door with a cup of tea and sat down at the foot of my bed. "I want you to know something," she said. "Something I should have told you years ago. I waited. When my son first brought you home, I thought you were too good for him." I almost laughed. "What? You were kind," she said simply. "Genuinely kind. You remembered things about people. You asked questions because you actually wanted to know the answers, not because you were performing interest. You were warm in a way that my family has never been." She looked down at her tea. "I saw how my son looked at you, and it worried me. He looked at you like you were a prize he'd won. Not like a partner. Not like an equal. Like something he'd acquired that proved how successful he was." "Then why didn't you say something?" "What would I have said? Hello, I'm your boyfriend's mother, and I think he sees you as a status symbol rather than a person?" You would have thought I was insane. You would have assumed I was trying to break you up. He would have told you I was cold and jealous and difficult, and you would have believed him. She was right. I would have believed him. I did believe him, every time he told me his mother was just like that, and I shouldn't take it personally. "I've been watching him for years," she continued. "Watching him charm people, manipulate situations, present the perfect image while hiding everything else. I thought maybe you would be different. Maybe you would see through it. But he was good at what he did, and you loved him." "I thought she hated me," I said quietly. "This whole time, I thought you disapproved of me, looked down on me. I thought you were the enemy." She smiled. It was a sad smile. "I thought she hated me. She didn't. She just saw who her son really was, and she was trying to warn me all along." "I didn't know how to warn you," she admitted. "I didn't have proof, just instinct. Just a mother's gut feeling that something was wrong. When I found the evidence, I finally had something concrete. Something you couldn't dismiss." Update 4. The confrontation, 2 weeks later. He showed up at his mother's house 2 weeks after the wedding. I heard the car in the driveway and recognized the engine. My body responded before my brain did, tensing up like a rabbit sensing a predator. His mother answered the door before I could hide. I listened from the top of the stairs. "You need to leave." "I need to talk to her, Mom." "You've had her for 2 weeks. 2 weeks without letting me explain, without letting me apologize. You can't just keep her prisoner here." "She's not a prisoner. She's a guest. And she doesn't want to see you. You don't speak for her." "No, but I protect her from people who would manipulate her. Including my own son." There was a silence. Then his voice, lower, more dangerous. "You destroyed my life. You understand that, right? My job found out. People are talking. My reputation is ruined. I'm the punchline of every joke in this town. And it's your fault." "No." His mother's voice was ice. "It's your fault. Every single thing that's happening to you right now is a consequence of choices you made. I didn't cheat on your fiancée. I didn't lie to her for years. I didn't humiliate her by sleeping with another woman the day before your wedding. You did that. I just made sure she knew. She would have been happy. We would have been happy. She didn't need to know. You would have been happy. She would have been trapped in a marriage with a man who didn't respect her. That's not happiness. That's captivity." I came down the stairs then. I needed to see him. I needed to face this. He looked terrible. Unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, clothes rumpled. The polished, perfect image I'd fallen in love with was gone. He looked like what he was, a desperate man watching his carefully constructed life collapse. "Baby." He stepped toward me, and I stepped back. "Please. Let's just talk. Somewhere private. Without her." "No. I made a mistake. I made a lot of mistakes. But I love you. I've always loved you. We can get through this. We can go to therapy, we can rebuild trust, we can." "We can't," I said. "Because I don't trust you. I will never trust you again. And I don't love you anymore." It was true. The moment I said it, I realized it was true. Whatever love I'd felt for this man had died on that altar, killed by a photo on a phone screen and the realization that I'd never actually known him at all. "You're making a mistake," he said. His voice was hardening now, the desperation turning to anger. I'd seen this before, in small moments, and I'd always made excuses. Now I saw it clearly. The only mistake I made was saying yes when you proposed. And your mother saved me from making an even bigger one. He looked at his mother. At me. Back at his mother. You've turned her against me. You've poisoned her against her own family. You're going to regret this. Both of you. His mother stepped in front of me. Tiny woman, barely 5 feet tall, facing down her own son with nothing but pure steel in her spine. Threaten her again and I'll make sure everyone knows about the financial accounts you've been hiding. The ones you were planning to keep separate from the marriage. The ones I found when I went through your records. He went pale. I didn't know what she was talking about, but clearly he did. Leave. And don't come back to this house again. He left. He didn't have a choice. When the door closed behind him, I burst into tears. Not sad tears. Relief tears. Tears for the future I'd narrowly escaped, for the marriage that would have slowly suffocated me, for the woman I would have become if I'd said, I do to that man. His mother handed me a tissue and said nothing. She didn't need to. Update 5, 3 weeks later now. It's been 3 weeks. I'm writing this from the guest room at his mother's house. My mother-in-law who isn't my mother-in-law, because there was no wedding and there will be no marriage. I've started calling her by her name instead of his mother. It felt strange at first, but she seemed pleased by it. We have dinner together most nights now. She's teaching me about wine, she has a cellar full of bottles I can't pronounce, and I'm teaching her about sourdough bread, which she claims to find fascinating but might just be humoring me. We've talked a lot. About her son, about her marriage, about what she saw and what she feared. Her husband, his father, cheated on her too. 4 years. She stayed because that's what women of her generation did, because of the children, because of appearances. She swore to herself that if she ever saw her son heading down that same path, she wouldn't let another woman make the same mistake she did. I stayed, she told me one night, and I spent 30 years with a man who didn't love me. Not really. He loved what I represented, what I provided. But not me. I don't want that for you. I don't want that for anyone. I've started looking for a new apartment. His mother insists I can stay as long as I need, but I'm ready to rebuild. Ready to find a space that's just mine, with no memories attached to it. The guests from the wedding have been interesting. Some of them have reached out to apologize, to say they suspected something but didn't know how to bring it up. Some of them have cut me off entirely, choosing sides in a battle I never wanted to fight. His family, predictably, is furious. His father sent a letter demanding I return the engagement ring. I'd already thrown it in a donation box for a women's shelter, so he's out of luck. His sister called me a gold digger and a drama queen, which would be funny if it wasn't so pathetic. My own family is divided. My father supports me completely. My mother is still making noises about what people will think, and your biological clock, and other garbage I refuse to engage with. We're not speaking much these days. But here's the thing I keep coming back to. My own mother was crying at that altar, begging me to work it out. His mother was the one who said, "You deserve better. Walk away." My own family wanted me to sacrifice my dignity to avoid embarrassment. His family, his mother specifically, sacrificed her relationship with her son to make sure I knew the truth. I don't know what the future holds. I'm 26 years old, single, and publicly humiliated. My wedding photos are now screenshots circulating on social media with captions about wedding fails. People I barely know have opinions about my life. But I'm also free. Free from a man who never truly loved me. Free from a future of suspicion and betrayal and compromise. Free from a marriage that would have been built on a foundation of lies. And I have an unexpected ally. A friend, even. Someone who looked at her own son and chose to protect me instead of protect him. She handed me the photos and said, "I'm sorry this is how you found out. But I couldn't let you marry a liar. Not even my own son. That's love. Not the romantic kind, not the easy kind. The hard kind. The kind that requires sacrifice and courage and the willingness to destroy something precious to save someone from harm." 3 weeks ago, I walked out of my own wedding with his mother by my side. We drove away in her car while my former fiancé screamed at the sky and 180 guests gawked at the wreckage. She asked me where I wanted to go. I said I didn't know. She said, "Then let's just drive until you figure it out." We ended up at a diner 30 miles from the venue, me still in my wedding dress, her still in her navy blue outfit. We ordered coffee and pie and sat in a booth by the window, and she told me stories about her own wedding, her own marriage, her own regrets. "I wish someone had done for me what I did for you," she said. "I wish someone had been brave enough to tell me the truth before I spent my life with a man who didn't deserve me." I reached across the table and took her hand. This cold, distant woman who I'd spent 2 years resenting. This woman who had just blown up my wedding and saved my life in a single act of devastating honesty. "Thank you," I said. She squeezed my hand back. "You're worth protecting," she said. "Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise." Final update. Moving forward. I posted this story because I needed to process what happened. I didn't expect it to resonate with so many people. To everyone who's reached out, thank you. To everyone who shared their own stories of narrow escapes and unexpected allies, I hear you. To everyone who's asked about updates, I'll keep you posted. For now, I'm focused on healing. I'm in therapy, working through the betrayal and the grief and the complicated feelings of losing not just a fiancé but a whole future I thought I had mapped out. I'm learning to trust my own instincts again, to listen to the small doubts I ignored for years because I wanted so badly to believe in the fairy tale. And I'm learning that family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who choose you, who fight for you, who tell you the truth even when it's hard. His mother didn't give me a happy wedding day. She gave me something better, a chance to build a happy life with someone who actually deserves me. When I find that person, if I find that person, I know exactly who I'm inviting to the wedding. And this time, she won't have to object. TLDR, mother-in-law objected at my wedding and showed evidence of fiancé's cheating. Turns out she'd been trying to protect me for years. Walked out of the wedding, now living at her house while I rebuild my life. Sometimes your biggest enemy turns out to be your fiercest ally. Here's what I learned about enemies and allies. Sometimes they wear each other's faces. I stood at the altar in my grandmother's veil, a dress I'd saved 2 years to afford. 180 guests. The happiest day of my life. Then his mother stood up and said, "I object." She walked to the altar with her phone. A photo. My fiancé kissing another woman. Time-stamped yesterday. While I was at my final dress fitting, he was at a hotel with her. I spent 2 years thinking my mother-in-law hated me. Turns out she was the only one who loved me enough to tell the truth. She found the messages a week before. She gave him a chance to tell me himself. He promised he would. Then yesterday, the day before our wedding, he was at a hotel with the same woman. He couldn't stay faithful for one more day. He looked at his mother and said, "You've ruined everything." She said, "No, you did. I'm just making sure she knows before it's too late." She handed me a folder. Not one affair. Affairs. Different women. The entire engagement. My own mother was crying at that altar, begging me to work it out. His mother was the one who said, "You deserve better. Walk away." I walked out of the church. His mother followed me to the parking lot. "I know you probably hate me," she said. "I destroyed your wedding day." I hugged her. "You saved my life." She wasn't cold because she thought I wasn't good enough for her son. She was cold because she knew her son wasn't good enough for me. I've been staying at her house for 3 weeks now. She's teaching me about wine. I'm teaching her about sourdough bread. She told me her husband cheated too. For 30 years she stayed. She swore if she ever saw her son doing the same thing, she wouldn't let another woman make her mistake. She handed me the photos and said, "I'm sorry this is how you found out. But I couldn't let you marry a liar. Not even my own son. That's love. Not the easy kind. The hard kind. The kind that requires destroying something precious to save someone from harm. When I find someone who deserves me, I know exactly who I'm inviting to the wedding. And this time, she won't have to object."